Hello everyone, really excited to be here today. Wasn't an easy start. Yeah, forgot my laptop in the bathroom, so bear with me, I'm still, growing some gray hairs over here. Welcome everybody to the session. I really appreciate you stopping by. In this hour today, we're going to talk about onboarding engineers and kind of helping them fan out in their organization for all good reasons. There are some lessons learned and practices that we have at Spotify to help with that. So that's going to be the main focus of today. I should start by saying that this particular story is really, really close to my heart because I'm also a byproduct of internal mobility. I've been at Spotify for 6 years now, and this is my third gig at the same company. So that hopefully tells you something about how we approach career mobility. But enough said, let's dive into some quick introductions. So my name is Helen. I work at a developer experience studio within Spotify, where I lead Backstage Engineering. And my co-pilot for today is Bowie the Beaver, who happens to be the mascot of my team and who resembles a lot of our qualities, which is curiosity and building things, as well as liking a good snack. And without further ado, let's dive right into the topic. Oh, no, wait a second. Couple of disclaimers first. So this talk will contain some complaints about the state of the industry, about the state of developer experience, but I really hope you understand that those complaints come from a good place, from me wanting to show you the size of the prize, the size of the opportunity that we have to address here to make a developer experience a better place for everyone to be in. There will be some buzzwords, and this industry has seen a lot of buzzwords, and sometimes like really, really good concepts become really meaningless words that like nobody understands what they mean any longer. And sometimes developer experience, I fear that it might become one of those buzzwords, and I really don't want it to become one of the buzzwords. And I hope that like the philosophy will stay, even though the meaning, like the naming might change, because building products with empathy for your users will never go out of fashion, I hope. But enough lyrics for now. Let's dive right in. I'll start by stating the obvious. Software is still eating the world effectively. And what I mean by that, I mean that there is like this whole list of trends and tools, and like it only continues to grow. Things like microservices, things like large language model, things like going from like on-prem to multi-cloud. And some of the bullets that are listed in here is just like scratching the surface. These are just some of the trends that we've seen at Spotify and that affected us. So developers can do way more right now with the tooling in their hands, but they're also responsible for way more things than before. And like, yeah, do you see the same? Yeah, just some glitch on the screen, never mind. So yeah, the developers like focus primarily on coding in the early days, now find themselves responsible for entire software delivery lifecycle, from just like designing and developing to deploying to now optimizing, doing all the things. So the role has expanded significantly, and the new times call for new solutions to some of those problems. And yeah, just like we need to streamline some of the intricate processes to enable developers to deal with that complexity more effectively. The good news is that industry is now waking up to this reality, and there is more and more developer experience units that appear in some of the companies, though I don't feel like two particular topics are getting enough attention, and those topics are onboarding, for instance, to just give you one example. Think about it this way, like your whole stack is now way more complex, and onboarding new engineer just becomes harder and harder. And like on top of all of that complexity that I just showed you and that we just talked about, there is also like some local regulations, some testing conventions, some just local policies, and it just hurts. It makes onboarding way longer. there is also such thing as like growth and connectivity of a new person within the company, or just like any person within the company, because if your environment is so complex, like why switching to like a different team, why trying something new? Like there's so much context you need to take in, it just becomes intimidating to do that. Just to throw some quick industry stats around here, it takes on average whole 8 months for a person in the tech job to get to their maximum productivity. And that's bad news, right? Because they, like 20% of them leave in their first year. Yet still, 20% don't receive any formal onboarding when they join a new company. So why at Spotify we decided to invest in those things? I mean, we've also learned the hard way. But in order for me to tell the story, let's go back 6 years. At that time, Spotify was on the hyper-growth mode, basically growing faster at a breakneck pace, like trying to expand their mission, trying to expand our global presence, but our developer metrics, our developer productivity metrics were really, really concerning back then. To give you one example, we had this North Star onboarding metric, which is time to 10th PR, and it was ballooning to over 60 days. So it took a really, really long time for someone to get to contribute meaningfully. And while we're on the topic, can we do a quick show of hands, like how much time did it take you in your company to push your first PR to production? 1 week, anyone? Nice. 1 month? No, there's more. 3 months, anyone? This is surprisingly good. This is good. This is really good. Thank you, folks. But yeah, back to this thing. Buddy system also had problems. Like it was really inconsistent, even though helpful. Like it's good to have a human being next to you, looking after your onboarding process, but it requires like a lot of tapping on the shoulder. It requires a lot of kind of tribal knowledge to be in that person's head. And it just like sometimes turns into this rumor-driven development, we call it, and it just doesn't scale, as well as like self-reported productivity just started decreasing. And that realization was actually the moment of inception of Backstage. Yes, good. Just something weird going on with the screen, I'm sorry. Keep looking backwards. So yeah, Backstage, for those of you who don't know this, Backstage is a Spotify's internal developer portal, a single pane of glass for all of our company's infrastructure, technical documentation, and tooling. There is a talk from June, one of my colleagues, right after this, that probably will dive deeper into the core parts of Backstage framework. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do like a 30 seconds explainer of like what internal developer portal is. And it's basically something that like is a single pane of glass where an engineer can access all the information they need and like perform all the tasks that they need. And something can turn your laptop from looking like this to something like this, right? This is better. So just you and your code and Backstage. Everything else that engineer does in their day-to-day that is not writing code, they should be able to do in a developer portal. So that's the idea in essence. But Backstage is not only a developer portal at Spotify, it's also an open platform for building developer portals. We donated this platform to CNCF in 2020, and anyone could now build you could build your developer portal at your own company using Backstage, should you decide to invest in that. I should say that an internal developer portal is something that looks different from company to company. For someone, it's just like a unilateral hub for like everything and anything. They just go there for like all of the developer workflows. To some, it's just like their entire catalog of software ecosystem. For other folks, it's just like a place to read their technical documentation. But yeah, there is no like universal solution. You just gotta figure out your flavor of Backstage, really. But yeah, going back to the topic of today, the onboarding. I mentioned that like when we realized that we got problems with like engineers feeling productive, with engineers getting the confidence to ship their code, we decided to attack this from 3 main angles. And those angles being self-led guides that engineers use to get their machine up and running, get their environment up and running. I'm gonna go in depth about what this looks like later today. There are engineering bootcamps, like a cross-functional group of people that like you work with in your first week to get up and running, and yeah, you get to develop a new feature together. And we're also streamlining our onboarding processes with something that we call software templates. So let's dive right in. So the start of the yellow brick road for you as a new joiner at Spotify is this. You get an email with an invitation to a golden path. What's a golden path, you might ask? There was a time when engineers at Spotify couldn't imagine life with golden path. Now they can't imagine life without it. It's so essential right now for how we work and how we welcome our new joiners. To use the official terminology, golden path as we define it today is the opinionated and supported path to build something. And that something could be anything. It could be a backend service, it could be a website, it could be a data pipeline, you name it. Golden path is that it's that universal step-by-step guide that takes you through the process of onboarding, and it makes it really interactive for you. But I'm not, like, don't take just my words for it. Let's look how it works in practice. So yeah, in this page right there, you will see like a golden path that we have available at Spotify broken down by category. So yeah, depending on your discipline, you would end up like picking a data engineering golden path, or maybe a client golden path if you're Android or iOS developer. But for the purpose of this one, we're gonna try web golden path. Yeah, so what you see happen there is a person who just starts their first day at Spotify. They go through the steps to configure their environment, to set up their machine. So there's the format that we use here is mkdocs, or like the open source feature, as we call it, tag docs, that's available from Backstage framework. So yeah, it is essentially allows you to have your documentation next to your code or next to where developers go through their onboarding. So yeah, as the new joiner like taking their steps to set up the new environment, they basically are very autonomous in doing this because every single step is written there for them, and it's close to all of their developer environment. So yeah, one of the steps that they take while doing this is they create a new component. So one of the steps that the engineers take in their onboarding is that they create a new component from scratch. And they do that with the help of software templates. And that is one of my favorite features with Backstage, because it really works with using the right incentives. It really works with people incentives. And when I say standardization by ease, as opposed to standardization by constraint, what I mean is that sometimes developers have to face with a lot of constraints, implicit and explicit, like a code police, where like you just know you have to implement a rule, but you might not even know how to do that, or you might not be aware of the rule that exists. And to just give you one example, like you are building a web service, and then like you have to apply certain security standards on top of that. But how do you know that? It takes time to discover like what standards you need to apply. With software templates, the power of scaffolding, the way we call it, or like cookie cutter templates, is that you can equip your developers with like state-of-art boilerplate code in terms of security, documentation standards, compliance standards, just simple code conventions. And at the end, you will get a component that will be pushed in your repo, in your source control system, and they will follow best practices without even knowing that they're doing it. And don't get me wrong, I'm not suggesting to like remove all that knowledge and all that awareness from people's heads. Sure, they still have to know that those practices exist, but it just like it doesn't have to be the first thing that they learn as they onboard to the new company. That's the thing. And I'm gonna do this awkward thing again of trying to move my cursor on this big screen because there is another video coming up. So I really appreciate you being a super kind audience because I know this stuff is just awkward. All right. So with that said, we're gonna do a quick content creation, component creation demo, and I really hope the demo gods are with me. Here we go. Right. So what's going to happen now is that we're going to go to the Create button. We're going to choose the type of boilerplate or like a template that we want to use. For this one, it's going to be a web template. So what it takes is just 5 steps, right, to get from nothing to like a service running in production. And yeah, you just got to specify name, like who owns that stuff. I don't know, a team or an individual, then like a couple of check boxes for like compliance standards, if anything, where do you want this thing deployed, few other kind of details around that, and then, yeah, it's running, and then boom. There is a new component there, right there. All right, taking a bit of time. Yeah, so what it does is that it creates a component and you can already see it available from your repo. You can access it. There is like a boilerplate code. So all you need is just to add your business logic on top of that, really, and like that's it. It creates a web page, we call it entity page within Backstage catalog itself, so you can access your component immediately upon creation. There is a CI/CD pipeline, there is documentation. The thing about that, it's super customizable. So that's how we do it at Spotify, but you can customize it the way you want it at your company in terms of you can have all the templates you want, you can have all the steps you want to have that in that template. It can be really anything and everything you want it to be. And yes. So just to recap, here is roughly what an engineer at Spotify is able to accomplish on their first day. They can set up their local dev environments. They can create a new component according to their discipline, like data pipeline, backend service, website, anything, and they can deploy it in production and have it there, and that's your day one. But yeah, once again, you shouldn't take my word for it. I've got some quotes from like the recent engineers who went through this onboarding just in the past couple of months. So let's see what they say. For me, it's when I'm independent to do stuff on my own, a feeling of autonomy is what matters. Caring about the people that are just walking in the door right now, I think that just speaks volume to the culture. My Spotify onboarding has been the best out of all companies I worked for. While being onboarded is more of a subjective state, and it really depends on the magnitude of factors like feeling of belonging, confidence, understanding your domain, understanding the context that you're being put in. We in Spotify believe that standards, to some extent, can help streamline this journey and make this way more fun and enjoyable for people who just come through the door. Quick caveat is that Backstage is not going to solve all of your onboarding challenges, so you still have to figure out how to set a printer and like where is decent lunch. There's always that. But yeah, fast forward a couple of months in, or maybe a year in, or maybe a couple of years in, you're onboarded, you feel comfortable in your current context, you want to explore what's out there, like what are the opportunities for you to learn and grow and to see what's next. But how do you actually do that? So we spoke to engineers, and here's what they say. The top questions that usually come to people's mind is like, how do I actually do that? Where do I even start growing within my company? Who can help me? How do I get access to the new technology stack or to the new groups that might exist at my company? And the answer, unexpectedly or expectedly, came from Spotify's Hack Week. Some of our most beloved and like commodity features even, they came from Hack Week, including the now essential Discover Weekly, Backstage itself, so Skill Exchange, as we call it, our internal marketplace, is no exception to that. So what started as a solution to really track hack ideas during our annual Hack Week has grown into the internal talent marketplace that is now used by 75% of our R&D employees on a monthly basis. So let's see what it does. This is essentially the view. It's another one of those plugins or like views that we have within our internal instance of Backstage. And the main features include personal skill profile and search, mentoring or pairing, and sharing your hacks or exploring other hacks. Starting with the skill profile. This is essentially the view that you get as an individual. So you can basically tell us everything about yourself in terms of the skills that you possess, the experiences that you had in the past, and the kind of interest that you have for growth and the areas where you want to basically expand your knowledge. The thing about new engineers doing this is that sometimes you also get to know people and their skills from the work that they do in their existing context, but their background might be way richer than that. And this is how you know that like they've done C++ in the past, or they've done other things that they're maybe not doing in their day-to-day right here, right now. And exposing that information to the company and to the pool of R&D engineers just helps you to discover the talent when you need for a project or for a certain initiative where you need like a certain vertical or expertise. Moving on to another feature that we have in Skill Exchange or internal marketplace is that you can, the way we call it is embeds, but people have other names for it, but essentially embeds and hacks are the two main instruments for career mobility that we have within the company. So once you created your skill profile within Skill Exchange, you can browse around all the various opportunities that are available to, and you can reach those folks directly through that platform. There's a bunch of tools that are available like of a similar vein right now in the market, but you also get like automatic matching and that kind of stuff. But the thing about autonomy with Spotify is that we don't force people to do that. They're free to opt in or opt out, and they also can like browse around and connect individuals to individuals, and that just builds like a stronger and more autonomous community as a result of that, because you empower individuals to be in charge of their own career growth. They drive their own career growth at the end. And a curious number that goes with that is 62% of all the engineers who used embedding or hacking to grow their skills, they're less likely to leave the company in their first year. So that just speaks volumes about what it does to people's retention in that sense. And finally, mentorships. Think about the ways how this can help you deepen your expertise. Like they say, best teachers learn while teaching. So if you add your areas of expertise to your profile, others can easily discover you and ask you for help. You can offer yourself as a mentor on a project. You can offer yourself as a mentor to a certain individual. You can also seek mentors if you're a mentee and you want to learn a new expertise or like enter a new domain. And that just creates connection once again. Visibility, connection, growth, and peer-to-peer relationships. So that's what this is. And to summarize the career mobility side of it, here are some quick stats that we pulled together from the cohort of Backstage users who took part in like learning activity or career mobility in the past year. And what you see here is that like it drives really meaningful improvement to retention and self-reported productivity and engagement. So it's a really, really worthwhile investment when it comes to developer experience. If you want to check out Skill Exchange as a plugin, it is now available as part of the Spotify for Backstage plugin bundle. The bundle subscription includes 5 different plugins designed to address various aspects of developer productivity and engineering culture, and these are just external versions of some of the things that we use and love at Spotify in our day-to-day work. There is also, if you want to check out the Backstage project as is and see what's out there, here is the QR code to get to our community, to get to our hub where all the latest product conversations and technical conversations are happening. So go check that out. And I'm going to just close us off with a couple of key takeaways from this time. When thinking of your developer experience, don't overlook onboarding and career mobility, because these are so powerful instruments. And like I oftentimes see those being ignored, because what industry cares about to a large extent is like how engineers are productive in their day-to-day once onboarded. But onboarding can lead to a much greater satisfaction of your whole talent pool. Focus on measurable goals. Once again, I'm not going to say anything new. Like if you want to improve something, start by measuring something. And that's just a way to build or adopt the tools that will help your organization to solve for your goals and needs. And most importantly, talk to your teams always. There is no survey or no metric that can replace talking to your teams, because people are surprisingly good in telling about their grievances, telling about what happens, joys and frustrations. And with that said, time for questions.